Hey everyone, the name's Erik Thor, and in today's video allow me to discuss the issue of how narcissists and sociopaths control us and why we let them in and how they are able to manipulate us. Because at its root, manipulation and gaslighting rests upon one core pattern, making you doubt your own experiences, your own thoughts, and your own feelings. And in extension, by making you doubt yourself, making you more open to accepting other people's judgment, letting other people's judgment of you dominate how you see yourself. And it makes sense then that the people that are the most susceptible to narcissists and sociopaths are the people that already doubt themselves a lot, the people that already second guess their own judgment, the people that already feel unsure about themselves and what they feel and what they really want. Manipulators rest upon using and turning our own vulnerabilities and fears against us. And beyond that, manipulators need and depend on our emotional validation. They need us to tell them that they are doing a good job, that they are good people, that we understand them, that we relate to them, that we empathize with them. And so people who have dealt with narcissists and sociopaths often come to this answer that maybe my problem was that I was simply too empathic. Maybe I was too compassionate. Maybe I need to be more careful about who I let in and who I trust. And this is a bitter story, it's a sad story, because that also proves to some extent what the sociopath wants us to think. Often sociopaths tell this story to society that empathy, sensitivity, caring is a weakness. That kindness is a weakness, and that we need to toughen up and become more cold, more tough, more of something, less of ourselves. So there are many reasons why we shouldn't buy into their story in order to fight back also, and to reclaim empathy and to reclaim kindness as something that is positive, that can be positive if used right and if it comes with emotional boundaries. One of the key most important discoveries I made is that every person has their own right to their own space. And while this can seem like it's a blatantly simple and almost stupid statement, it's more than the fact that a lot of people don't claim their own space, that don't put up and withhold their own right to their own body, their own life. And in extension, their own emotional life and their own thoughts. Too many people police themselves on what is okay to feel, what is okay to think, what is okay to do. How can I be myself in a way that is okay? And this issue is problematic, of course, because you shouldn't have to ask yourself what right you have to your own life. You shouldn't have to ask yourself what right you have to your own thoughts. There are no bad or wrong ways to be yourself, because yourself is an active process and developing process. We are in extension to letting ourselves live, to let ourselves express ourselves, to taking our own space. We are learning about ourselves, and the only way to learn about yourself and to master yourself is to let yourself express yourself. And so sometimes I applaud when people can take their own space, even in a way that is slightly ridiculous or that can appear stupid to other people. When people dress up in alternative fashions and clothing styles, when people do silly things just for the sake of being silly, when people express themselves without regard for what other people think, or with regard for what other people think, but without compromising their own boundaries. That's also when people are learning about themselves and who they are. And the best way to resist manipulation is to know yourself, to know who you are, to understand yourself, to let yourself express your inner silly, your inner crazy, your inner whatever you have inside of you. We all need to let go of the thought that we have things inside us that are wrong, when so often it's about nurturing yourself so that the things that you can find in yourself that are wrong are healed, brought up to reality, accepted, and transformed into something that we will love and that we can accept and care for. That's why maybe we should start a ritual every day by personal confessions, just making personal confessions to ourselves out loud or to ourselves, just in our own heads, just acknowledging silly things that we are thinking, silly things that we are feeling, emotions that we might feel a little troubled by. Truth is, we all have emotions inside of us that we let ourselves feel, and then we have emotions that we don't let ourselves feel. And beyond that, we have strategies to how we let ourselves feel emotions. And often what narcissists and sociopaths do is they manipulate these strategies and they turn them against us. Part of what you want to do is you want to identify which emotions you have the biggest difficulty in recognizing in yourself. Is it anger? Is it shame? Is it fear? Is it shame or guilt? Is it anxiety or pain? So first, recognize which emotions in yourself that you have not been able to yet understand. How good are you at noticing when you feel that issue of anxiety inside of you? How good are you at noticing when you feel shame or guilt? How good are you at noticing when you feel fear? Are you good at noticing when you feel angry? And what I've noticed is that it's the NFs that have the biggest issues with feeling anger and with feeling anxiety. It's the NTs that have the biggest issues with feeling guilt and feeling anger. It's the SFs that have the biggest issues with feeling fear and feeling anxiety. And it's the STs that have the biggest issues of feeling fear and guilt. Another thing to notice is where you place your locus of control. We can either blame ourselves and put our emotions on ourselves, or we can put them on other people. This is part of our emotional strategies and how we express emotions. So here are some common trends. People that struggle to feel bad about what other people do, people who don't feel any sense of judgment, open judgment towards other people, are usually the people that feel the most guilty and the most ashamed about themselves. People that tend to be angry at the world, angry at other people, angry about everything around them, are usually the people that struggle the most to feel angry at themselves, to feel and notice when they've themselves made mistakes. The people that seem the most brave are often the people that are the most afraid of themselves. And the people that seem the most confident in themselves are usually the people with the deepest rooted inner anxiety. And it all comes down to, where do we feel emotions and when do we feel emotions? How do we feel emotions and how do we express emotion? And having these emotional strategies are not necessarily in themselves any issue. Often those that carry a lot of anger inside of themselves and who feel the most angry at themselves are able to process their anger by letting go of expectations on themselves. It's just your starting point. If you have a lot of anger inside of you and if you feel angry at yourself for not being good enough, for not being smart enough, for not foreseeing enough, for being able to adjust enough, then often that's just your process, your starting point, where you are beginning to learn and how you process your emotions. Still, with that said, having these emotional strategies are not a problem in themselves. In fact, knowing about your strategies and knowing about how you feel can help you in a way to reconnect with these emotions and to understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And ever so often, when we have these emotions, when we have these blind spots, because everyone has these blind spots, we might not notice the judgment that we truly feel towards other people. Or we might not notice the judgments that we hold against ourselves. And as long as we don't acknowledge that, that emotion keeps on riding with us, bubbling under our surface, causing us issues. And so, often, it's about mirroring yourself and it's about looking at that other side, going into that place outside of your emotional comfort zone and letting yourself express emotions that are in ways that are slightly out of your comfort zone. If you tend to carry a lot of anger inside yourself, consider hypothetically that maybe you are feeling some anger at other people and labor with that possibility. Is it possible that I am angry with other people? If you feel guilty for who you are, consider maybe the fact that you might also be harboring some feelings of disgust against other people. If you feel, in a way, anxious about who you are and how good you are, consider that maybe you are also feeling bad about how other people are and how good they are and what they are able to do. Maybe you're also feeling a little jealous. And if you are feeling and harboring feelings of fear against fear of yourself, fear of who you are, fear of your own self, then consider maybe that you're also afraid of what other people will think about who you are and what other people might see about yourself. But beyond your comfort zone, also acknowledge that you have a comfort zone and start processing there. Begin your process there. Begin by thinking about how you feel about yourself and why you feel the way you feel about yourself. Begin to think about your emotions and why your emotions are like that. Begin verifying how you're feeling and what you're doing. And begin trying to understand yourself and to empathize with yourself. And another so important thing to recognize is that emotions have a tendency to hitch rides on each other's. So often we put on other people's emotions and other people's feelings and we try them out to see how they fit on us. If other people are feeling something, we tend to absorb that and we tend to try out how does that fit on me. So often, the process of discovering your own emotions and learning about yourself is also a process of learning about other people. That's why we read books, that's why we talk with others, that's why we communicate with others. Because in the process of connecting with other people, we are also meeting people that can express emotions beyond our comfort zone. And we are meeting people that are maybe experiencing different issues, but the same emotions at the basic level. And in that process of learning about their issues and their strategies and what they are doing and how they are overcoming their emotions, we are learning about how we can overcome emotions. That's why we need stories, that's why we need people, because that can also help us in many ways to understand more about ourselves. And that's also in part why we shouldn't judge our own emotions, because so often the emotions we judge in ourselves are the emotions we've absorbed from other people, the emotions that are foreign to us. And while those emotions might not be our own, they are still in there, they are still a part of our emotional makeup. So when we think things that we shouldn't think, when we experience things that we think that we shouldn't be able to experience, or feel things that we feel are shameful or bad, so often it's nothing wrong with entertaining that emotion, entertaining that thought, and just learning about it and learning about what it translates to and where it comes from. Because that's also a way to avoid that emotion ever getting a grip of you. And that leaves us all with one core goal. The goal of self-acceptance, the goal of self-compassion. The goal of trusting our own journey and our own process to learning the truth and realizing that we don't have the truth yet, but we are on the way towards it. We are exploring it from all the different sides and angles possible. We are not complete, we don't have all the answers, we don't understand our core emotions and how we are feeling, but that's okay because we are on the road towards understanding it. And there will always be new things that keep popping up, new things to deal with, new emotions to understand, new things to process. And if we refuse to have that process, if we refuse to feel what we are feeling, if we hitch a ride on other people's judgment, if we let other people second guess what's best for us, then we stop that journey, then we cancel, then we pause, then we freeze our own journey. And that's also when we start inviting other people to manipulate and control us. At least that's my perspective. And if you think someone else should watch this video, feel free to share it in your networks and let's create a good discussion on how to deal with narcissists and manipulation and how to affirm who you are and affirm how you feel.